is it safe to say that it is depositors' money that keeps the banks running and it's...
Absolutely. The poor are subsidizing the rich.
So basically, because the poor are getting lesser interest rate from the banks are able to give cheaper loans to the corporates.
Exactly. There is a need for starting of a depositors forum, bank-wise or area-wise, where the depositors can make their demands.
So what do ordinary Indians have to do with banks? Banks are an important institution. There is a lot that is written about it. There is the RBI that regulates them. And a lot of economists analyze very many nitty-gritties about banking. But let's face it, for an ordinary Indian, what do banks really mean? When do they encounter banks? It seems largely they are in three important matters that banks matter to them. One, of course, is that banks keep their money safe. Their savings are safe in the banks, and in return, also they get interest rate from the deposits that they keep in the bank. Those deposits are important for the bank as to where they invest them and all of that. But the depositors mostly are not interested, or mostly are not even in the know-how where the bank is putting that money, as long as they are getting decent interest rates. Now, of course, we should care about where the bank is investing, but let's face it, that is not the reality in this country yet. Number two, why the banks are important to people are that they get loans from banks. So certainly when they need, when a farmer needs to buy fertilizer, or when a student needs to take education loan, or if somebody has to pay for health expenses, on myriad of cases, people go to the banks for getting loans. So that is one importance of banks in their lives. The third important thing that people expect, ordinary Indians expect from banks, is that, if they're going to a bank, they should get decent service, which is that they should not have to stand in long queues. They should not have to come repeatedly for the same activity from the same request, and that they get decent service. That's something that they expect from a bank. So in this series of interviews, we will basically look into each of these different segments as to how ordinary Indians see banks and how banks reciprocate to ordinary Indians in these three segments. So we will cover these in three interviews. We have with us Comrade Thomas Franco, who is the former General Secretary of the All India Bank Officers Confederation. He is somebody who wears many hats. He is retired, and yet he is as active as ever. He is part of the People's Commission on Public Sector and Public Services. He also is somebody who is quite involved in the People's First campaign and several other democratic rights activism. So first of all, welcome Thomas Franco, sir, in this interview. As you heard, we will discuss this in three segments, and our audience would like to hear from you. To start with, let's first cover the deposit part. Ordinary Indians keep their money in the banks. Banks keep them safe, and ordinary Indians get some amount of interest out of it. Now, the government, including the Prime Minister, has claimed that, the country's banking system has been democratized, and they have said that banks will do well when depositors do well. And there is also a campaign for the depositors first, something that they speak about. So certainly the government is saying that the banks are doing great, first of all, and the depositors are also doing great, and the government is taking care of them. It's keeping depositors first. Do you have any second thought on that?
See, banks were not safe till 1969. Before independence as well as after independence, we have come across failure of large number of private sector banks, where whatever deposits were deposited, that was not refunded because the banks failed. That was one of the major reasons for nationalization of banks. First lot on 19 July 1969 and second 14 banks 69 and then 6 more banks in 1980. After that, no bank has failed. Even when some of the private sector banks were about to collapse, the Reserve Bank of India and the Government of India had been requesting the public sector banks to take over them. So many of those banks have been taken over by State Bank of India and other public sector banks.
And you're saying this because when banks don't fail, depositors' money stays safe.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we can say that the depositors' money is safe. But then whether we are really giving what is due to the depositors. Without deposit, a bank cannot function. No bank has so much of capital to lend and make profit out of it. The capital base of every bank, if you look at it, is a very small base. It is the depositors' money which is used for giving loans. Out of that, they earn money, earn interest, which is used for the establishment expenses, including staff salary, rent, everything. And banks make a profit out of it.
So is it safe to say that it is depositors' money that keeps the banks running and it's...
Absolutely. If one day the depositors of the country decide that we don't want to keep the money, the entire banking system will collapse. It was about to collapse in 2017 when the Government of India brought FRDA Bill, Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill.
What does the bill
That
mean?
bill had a provision that a depositor money can be appropriated, rather converted as a share of the bank when the bank is in a bad shape. Whether they like it or not, the deposit will not be repaid. Instead, they will be converted into a share. And if the bank performs well, then the money will be paid. There is no guarantee that a bank which is about to collapse is likely to perform well and repay the money.
Right.
So that time the depositors started withdrawing money. All India Bank Officers Confederation and other the bank unions, they were spreading the news among the public. What will it cost for them if the bill is passed? So finally they had to withdraw the bill. So now the banks are safe. There have been many private banks still went to the verge of collapse, like the Yes Bank. It was on the verge of collapse. So the Government of India asked the State Bank of India to take some of the shares, provide a managing director to run that bank, one Mr. Prashant Kumar, who was Deputy Managing Director in State Bank of India, was sent to Yes Bank and he has turned around the bank. Similarly, in the case of Industrial Development Bank of India, which has become a commercial bank now, it was about to collapse and the LIC was asked to invest. They took over, I think, nearly 51% of the shares, and officer of LIC was deputed to run the bank and they have turned it around. Okay. So practically what is true, what you are saying is that the deposits are safe when they are deposited in the banks, especially when it is public sector banks. But the grudge we have is that why these depositors are not paid what is due for them?
You mean the interest rate?
The interest rate. At one point of time, before the liberalization of 1992, on a savings bank account, you could earn 5% interest.
Hmm.
And in the case of fixed deposits, we have paid even up to 18% interest.
Hmm.
Today, savings bank interest rate is 2% to 2.5%, and fixed deposit is maximum 6.75%.
Right.
See the difference.
Right.
There was a time, if somebody is retiring from a bank or any institution, whatever retirement benefits they get, they could deposit in the bank and get a pension like amount
Hmm.
in return every month.
Right.
At 18%, it was attractive.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now it is one third of that.
Right.
So where will the people go and deposit money so that they can earn some interest out of it?
Right. It feels like those who are running the banks, whose deposits are actually running the system, they're not getting the returns.
Yes. Rather, the benefits are going to the rich and the corporates.
Right.
Earlier, they were charged higher rate of interest for their loan. Now they are getting subsidized loan
Hmm.
at very cheap rate of interest. There are large borrowers, corporates who avail loans above 100 crores at the rate of less than 5%, say 4%, 3%.
Right.
So the poor are subsidizing the rich.
Right. So basically, because the poor are getting lesser interest rate from the banks are able to give cheaper loans to the corporates.
Exactly.
So that's how you're saying the poor are subsidizing.
And one point I would like to highlight here is that even as on March 2026,
Hmm.
52.7% of the depositors are small depositors who are called household depositors, individuals. It's not the corporates, it's not the government. This leaves out self-help group deposits.
Hmm.
And total amount is 59.31% of the total deposit amount. First is number of accounts, second is amount of deposits the banks have.
So nearly 60% of the bank's deposit are ordinary people's money.
Ordinary people's money. And they are being deprived of this interest which is due to them.
Right. Right.
So today, again, banks charge heavy interest on personal loans, consumer loans, vehicle loans, credit cards, where the interest rate is very high.
Right.
Whereas in the case of large borrowers, corporate borrowers, they negotiate the interest rate.
Right.
We will pay only this much. Are you ready? One
Right.
bank is not ready, they go to another bank.
And banks to compete with each other is basically reducing the share that is due to the depositors.
Yes.
There is one more aspect about this, because the credit thing we will deal in the second segment. But returning to the deposits, something that we have seen recently is the BSR data that is showing that there's been a significant shift in the nature of bank deposits. And the fact that the low cost savings deposits share is reducing, which means the savings deposits are coming down and term deposits are increasing. Uh, so much so that former RBI governor has also kind of sounded little bit of an alarm, saying that things are not very bad yet, but if this continues, which means that the deposits can go low and credit can go high, and this ratio may go lopsided. So do you think that is a real concern, that the bank's deposits can get affected because of this, that people are, I mean, and first of all, why is this change happening? Why are deposits going down?
See, the deposits are going down mainly because people are looking for better options to get a better return. So now some of them, they go to the mutual funds, they invest in the SIP called systematic investment plan, where they get a good return
There's
better
so
than
many
these.
advertisements of SIPs these
Yes,
days.
there is so much of advertisement. And the bank themselves have converted themselves into supermarkets for selling so many services
Right.
like insurance, mutual fund,
Yeah, because
investment
these days
options.
when we step into a bank, even if we want to open a fixed deposit or something, they keep saying that
Yes.
do a mutual fund.
Yeah, this they call it additional services, or this is something which we have been critical of,
Hmm.
but that is happening.
Hmm.
But here, coming back, the depositors
Hmm.
today are not putting money in the savings bank accounts much.
Right.
They keep a minimum. Banks make a very good profit out of the deposits called the CASA deposits. In short, we call it CASA. It is current account and savings account.
Right.
In the current account, bank does not pay any interest at all.
True.
And minimum balance differs from bank to bank, and it is minimum 10,000 rupees.
Right.
And all these NGOs, trusts, they are forced to put their account money only in the current accounts.
Right.
So when you are not paying any interest on that, those who have current account also, they are careful. Instead of keeping more money in a current account without any interest, they will go for a fixed deposit, or they will go for another investment option.
Right.
Similarly, in the savings bank account, some banks like SBI now don't have any minimum balance. For most of the banks charge, even when the balance goes down, there is a minimum balance charge. So people just keep that minimum balance, and the rest of the money they deposit either in a fixed deposit or in a other deposit option which is available to them. And
Right.
they even go to the money lenders. I know that in rural as well as urban areas, there are money lenders who promise them that we'll pay you 10% interest.
Right.
You give us this many lakhs. And if they don't fail, the people do get the return.
Right.
But there is no guarantee that they will not fail.
Right.
But people take that risk.
Because keeping money here is not giving any return.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is one area of concern which the government of India as well as the Reserve Bank should address.
But this is such a strange situation that banks, by giving less interest rate, ultimately force depositors to move to either FDs or mutual funds. And once they actually did, funds, the FDs are more difficult for banks to actually service because they're more expensive. And it is also affecting the amount of deposits.
Yes.
Okay. What is it that, why is it, why should a bank be bothered if its deposits are getting less?
If there is no deposit, they will have to borrow from the market and give loans.
Right. Their lending activities will get affected.
Without lending, you don't make any profit at all.
Right.
All these small services which you are doing, the income out of it is very low.
Right.
So they have to invariably invest money in loans, secured loans preferably, for which the best is the deposit money.
Right.
Sometimes when there is shortage, they are going to the call money market. They are floating bonds.
Right.
Nationally, internationally, where again they have to pay a little higher interest rate. So, if they pay an adequate interest in the savings bank account, bring back that 5% and increase the fixed deposit rate to say 10%, 11%, 12%. People will be happy so that, you are seeing the inflation. The regular salaries earning people will know. Every 3 months, 6 months, the earners allowance goes up because the inflation has gone up.
True. This is literally that the bank's interest is not keeping up with the inflation. So practically, in practical terms, people are earning nothing from their deposit.
Exactly, that is the truth.
Right.
They earn nothing out of their deposit except that money they will get back. Some safety is there.
Right, right. So you think that this is something, I mean, what can the depositors do about this? Is there something that they can effectively do? Because sometimes it feels that these, I mean, for people, they think these are too difficult, completely not in their control. These somebody else is deciding, knowing the greater good, something is being decided. They cannot do anything about it. But can people actually do something, depositors?
They can and they should. In our country, we don't have a strong depositors forum.
Hmm.
So there is a need for starting of a depositors forum, bank-wise or area-wise, where the depositors can make their demands.
Hmm.
If the services are poor, they can question.
Right,
If deposit interest is less, they can demand.
right,
If minimum charge, in the name of minimum charges, SMS charges, all those kind of charges, if they are taking their money,
Hmm.
they can question. As an individual, you are finding it difficult to.
right.
But if you create a forum as depositors forum, that depositors forum can perform that collective bargaining work through which they can influence the bank, they can influence the government.
Right. So at the end of this first segment, what Comrade Franco very clearly says that if the depositors have to take care of their interest, then they need to collectivize, they need to raise these demands. These are not things that are completely beyond our control. These are things that are being decided by policymakers who are favoring the super rich, favoring the corporate, and they are sacrificing yours and ours interest. So we have to collectivize. At the same point of time, depositors have one more responsibility. Depositors also have to look into where their banks are putting the money. Are they investing the money in projects that are harmful ecologically, that are displacing people, that are causing livelihood losses, that are causing climate crisis? So these are all interests of the depositors, and they must safeguard those for their own as well as for the nation's good. Thank you so much. See you in the next segment of On Second Thought.